Blog Talk Radio.
Come on, man. It's like, hey, the one is always there. I got it.
Sherlock.
I ain't got my drop.
Today is Sunday, April 3rd, recording live from the nation's capital. I am your host, JaVonni Brustow, founder of PopGlitz Radio. I'm here with our guest, editor-in-chief of PopGlitz.com, Teonny Spears, and we are currently having a British invasion from the UK's BazaarNewsDaily Founder Mohammed SHK. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, you gonna do something
Hello there. What is going on?
Hi, Teon.
What's
Mohammed?
new?
Glad to be here.
Hi. I'm going to kill you if you don't control your background over there.
What time you gonna be here? Regular?
All right, so let's get things started. This topic is one actually for our resident interviewer, Michael, who wasn't able to make it, but he did an op-ed on the effect of women's weight in Hollywood. Coincidentally, Maxim just published their first plus-size cover model. Now, she's supposed to be like a size 14 or 16. I don't know if you all got a chance to see her, which isn't necessarily small by any means. Whether or not that size is true, because she was accused of being photoshopped to look smaller, I don't know. But she is a Lane Bryant model, so I know she's pretty much up there. Guess first. Mohammed, do you think that Maxim should have plus-size models on their cover?
No. What I said, one man's trash, another man's trash.
Did he answer, Mohammed?
Yes.
No. You get in trouble.
Your line went quiet.
Oh, okay. So I was asking, do you think that Maxim should have plus-size models on their cover?
No, I don't. I don't.
Why? And why do you think that is? Or why not?
Because why should we promote obesity to young children and girls in this world?
Well, hold on. You're going to get your chance, because I'm sensing a little something from Tion's side. Now, I'll say this, Mohammed, size 14 to 16, I mean, is that, I mean, it's not like a size 25. I mean, is that still considered
Hold
obese?
on, let me clarify the weight comment. I don't think we should promote obesity and overweight to young children and teenage girls, because you've got people that are 300-400 pounds pleading with the world to be normal because they feel like it's a part of their life to be overweight. That's not the case. Size 12, 13, and 14, or or sizes like that, that's one thing. But you've got TV shows now where it's called My Fat Woman or something like that. You've got women and men who are 450, 500 pounds, damn near on their deathbed because they're so obese. Someone who's a size 12 and 13, I consider that normal. God bless you, rock them curves. But the people who want to beg and plead for the acceptance of obesity, no. As I've always said, there's a difference between fat, skinny, and thick. Fat is someone who doesn't take care of themselves and doesn't look good for their body. Thick is someone who can put a pair of jeans, whether it be a little tight or a little loose, and still look normal. Someone who doesn't have a camel toe hanging out the back of their jeans, if their jeans are too tight, and that's 350 pounds. I have nothing against, thick people, but I can't stand it when somebody's like, oh, well, I'm just thick or whatever. I'm not fat, I'm thick. No, bitch, you 400 pounds. There's a difference between fat and thick. People need to learn that before we, as the people who are in Hollywood, are forced to teach that to young people.
Well, I am I work out every day, but, you made me want to get up and go to the ab lounge right now after after hearing that. Ouch.
Me too.
It sounded like you had a comment. Something was brewing over there. What do you think? What is your take?
I mean, Ashley being on the cover of Maximum isn't like, she's not promoting obesity, and she's just she's just more curvy than a typical model would be. I don't even consider her to be a full-figured model. She's just a little thicker than, Naomi Campbell or Alexandra Ambrosio. I don't see it as them promoting obesity. It's just this beautiful woman who's not a size 2 on the cover of a magazine. Not because she's, not really because she's not a size 2, but because she's gorgeous. And
but you do know there's a difference between 2 and 12.
Well, yes, I know that, but I'm just saying, like...
But you got to keep in mind, when it comes to magazine covers, Photoshop exists. Photoshop is a thing.
And a lot of people have said...
This girl on the cover of Maxim, she does not actually look like that.
Everyone accused her of... Yeah, everyone accused them of photoshopping, and they said that, I'll buy this. That is, if you didn't spend 500 hours photoshopping.
Because Photoshopping is like the Kardashians. The Kardashians are photoshopped on the cover of every single magazine in the world. Their photos are never real. So...
Well, the Instagram ones aren't either.
In terms of Maxim, you got to keep in mind that these photos are photoshopped probably to the gods. We have no idea, even as people who are in Hollywood and bloggers and journalists, that's what these photos really look like, let alone what the girl really looks like.
The reason why they mention the Photoshop comment is just that you're promoting there's a discussion about this woman's size. And so we're kind of under the impression that, look, we're putting a real woman on the cover. But, the cynics are like, yeah.
But, it's funny again, if you didn't putting a real woman on the cover of a major magazine.
If you didn't spend a week trying to Photoshop and edit her down.
It's so funny you mentioned putting a woman on the cover of a real magazine or a real woman who looks like a normal lady. If they wanted to put a real normal woman on there, they should have put a woman who was unphotoshopped. Not touched up, not photoshopped in no kind of way. They should have put her on there exactly how she was, put some nice makeup on there, and put her in an actual swimsuit or dress or whatever they wanted to do, instead of photoshopping her to the gods, disrespecting that woman, because we all know that's not what she looks like. If you take out that magazine and meet this woman in real life, she's going to look entirely different. That's not putting a real woman on the cover of Maxim magazine. That's putting a quote-unquote real woman in the eyes of what Maxim thinks the world wants to see on the cover of Maxim magazine.
I mean, again, it's common knowledge to know that these people are being edited. I was thinking, as long as you remotely kind of look like the picture. I think in 2005 when Mariah Carey did her Emancipation of Mimi album, which looked absolutely beautiful on the cover, but, it was like they put Beyonce's face on it. They were using the same graphic artist, and it's like, do you do so many Beyonce covers that you're just used to making her features? So she looked like Beyonce, and she was much bigger than the actual photo in person. And it reminds me of a publicist I met not too long ago, where I met this woman. I went to see her in this coffee shop, and she looked absolutely nothing like her picture. How, or even why? Why would you Photoshop yourself to look completely different?
That's like the cover of Mariah's last song, that her latest one that came out a couple months ago. She was wearing the black dress on the cover.
Well, they did a side-by-side. She had lost weight, but she's the type of person where even Wendy brought it up. She's like, you'll see her one day and she's small in a picture, and then 3 days later, and these are candid photos, and she looks like she's gained 12 pounds. I don't know. I think that she has some type of magic going on.
I was just telling you earlier that I'm less than a mile away from K. Michelle's house. K. Michelle does not look like what she looks like in pictures. Her photos have photoshopped to Mount Rainier and back. Her ass is not really that big. It's just a case of Photoshop. If they want to put real people on the cover of real magazines that broadcast to the world, why Photoshop?
I see. Now, go ahead.
Everybody photoshops magazine covers. Like, it's what they do. It's inevitable.
Exactly. They Photoshop magazines to sell.
If the three of us were on the cover of a magazine, it would be Photoshopped for the guys, and I would totally be okay with that.
Well, actually, they would have said, JaVonni, you're fine. You know, we'll just. Then they would cut some money out of the editing budget. They wouldn't touch my picture.
Please.
But that's what's wrong with our society. Maxim magazine wants to promote real women and claim they're putting a real bigger woman on the cover of their magazine.
Well, first of all, it's an insult to what they represent. In my opinion, you're supposed to be selling an image. You're supposed to be, and it's a dream. You know, this is a dream woman. It's not necessarily something to aspire to. That's what we should know. I mean, we should all know that.
That's exactly my argument. Maxim magazine is practically a legendary men's magazine. Pretty much up there with Playboy. It's been around for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Maxim, Playboy, Penthouse, all those magazines, tight bodies, you know, breast augmentation, you know, swimsuit ready, go to Malibu, pop up on the beach looking like Barbie dolls. They've always looked like that since the beginning of time.
Yeah, it's an image of perfection that is for our entertainment.
Exactly.
And that's it. And again, perfection.
For generally men, but now we live in a society to where men are called pigs or men are called sexist or misogynist or whatever because they want a woman who looks like a feminine woman who takes care of herself and you know, works out.
We do not need affirmative action for magazine covers, as I see it. If you want to be on the cover of something, then you need to lose weight and get it together, and then you'll be placed on the cover of a sex magazine. No affirmative action.
Because if you want to talk about real women or whatever, go to Cosmopolitan. Put a big girl on the cover of Cosmo. Don't put a big girl on the cover of Maxim. Men don't want to see a big girl on the cover of Maxim. They want to see a real girl, you know, somebody who, you know, has a few curves and whatnot, or has a nice swimsuit body. But we don't want to see someone like you see on these TV ads nowadays, someone who's 350 pounds talking about, I'm a, you know, plus-size swimsuit model or something.
It's the equivalent of Rolling Stone putting that terrorist from the Boston bomber on the cover of their magazine as if he's some model or something. I think that this is just something.
Forgive me for saying this because I've met this young lady quite a few times. This is the equivalent of Kate Upton when she first came out. And when she first came out, was an overweight swimsuit model. She had too much weight on her. She had too much going on. That's blunt and probably a little rude, but she had way too much going on. She had a lot of weight going on. She couldn't fit into a swimsuit. There were photos that surfaced online of this woman damn near falling out of her swimsuit because she just couldn't fit. But when she realized that she was part of that selling sex dreams, selling fantasy to men, look what happened. She bounced back. She made a choice to lose 60, 70 pounds, however much she lost, and look at her now.
Did you say 60?
Kate Upton lost a lot of weight.
What swimsuit was she putting on with an additional 60 pounds? And who was taking a photo of it?
Kate Upton's first photos came out during a fashion show a couple of years ago after that swimsuit issue came out. And she was down there spilling out a swimsuit top and a swimsuit bottom because she was just too big for it. But look at her now. She's like, I guess probably a size 6 or a 7 somewhere in there. That woman is now one of the sexiest women alive because she made a choice to become that way. She went from being overweight to what men want to see on the cover. That whole Maxim thing, Maxim wants to sell magazines, nothing more. They want to cause a discussion and a store to be able to create sales and revenue for their magazine.
Well, listen, I don't want to be accused of extensive fat shaming on social media, so I'm going to move it along. Michael Sam is an NFL player who came out of the closet recently and immediately
you don't want to
failed.
fat shame, but you move on to one of the worst things in football.
Oh Lord, he came out of the closet recently and, as you know, immediately failed at playing football. And now he goes on to say that he's experienced an insurmountable amount of racism in the gay community among whites. Now, this is my thing. Racism exists. It's life. I mean, you can't make it illegal. You can't legislate opinion. I mean, it's life. It is what it is. Let's be honest. It isn't like, but as far as him talking about discrimination, it's not like he's that much of a catch. He's not the cutest thing around. He sucks at football. He's shaped like a middle-aged football coach that let himself go. And I think he'd be looked over by gays. He'd be looked over by gays, straights, blacks, whites, and Asians. Muhammad,
let me say this about the whole Michael Sam thing. I think it's funny that Michael Sam had the nerve to come out talking about racism. First of all, Michael Sam can't play football as far as I can take a fucking soccer ball. The man sucks. The man was never a good football player. The only thing he's got going for him is the fact, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give him a 4. He's a little easy on the eyes, but if you get too close, it reminds me of the Trunchbull from Matilda. I mean, the man had the nerve to get kicked out of football because he wasn't face. That was strike one. Big no-no. You should have gone off and created a clothing line or worked with Michael Jordan or something to create a new pair of fucking shoes. But instead, what did this backwards-ass queen decide to do? He decided to go on broadcast television, not just on YouTube or on Instagram or Snapchat. He decided to go and broadcast American television and kiss a white man. Strike two. You want to talk about racism in the gay community, but you're the reason racism exists. You were, once upon a time, a so-called wealthy black man who worked in sports. But no, not once did no one ever see you love a black man or promote your own kind or people of your own color. But instead, you're out here talking about how great white men are and, you know, wealthy white man. And anytime somebody sees you with a man that you may or may not be romantically involved with, it's a white man. So how are we supposed to take Michael Sam serious as the three of us? We're all of color. So how are three men of color supposed to take another man of color serious when he's talking about racism of any kind when he doesn't respect his own race? He doesn't respect his own race enough to be able to say, oh, hey, yeah, I'm of color. You know, let's give a man of color a chance. You get even a taste of success, you go straight to the white man. But then there's this other gentleman who's also in basketball. I wish I could remember his name. It's kind of funny because he did the same thing. He is now a millionaire. But then he also decided to, you know, do the same thing as Michael Sam. He decided to have success, earn millions of dollars, got awards. He did all kinds of stuff. But then he had the nerve to talk about racism and decided to date a white man. That's my problem when black men talk about racism, because it's almost like straight men. Straight men love light-skinned girls, white girls, you know, girls who look different than them. Straight guys don't want to date a black girl who looks like them, you know, a real beautiful black girl. Same thing. Gay guys don't want to date someone of their own color because these days black guys are looking for a come up. They're looking for somebody who can pay their way to somewhere or give them something or whatever it may be. I've seen it myself. I've seen it in Hollywood. I've seen it on the street.
I'll say this. I mean, date who you want. It's your choice. But what did he expect when he decided to get into football, when he was talking about racism among the gay community? Did he just what type of stereotype did he have in his mind? Did he think that it was just going to be a big gay orgy? Well, I mean, I guess he had a nice wake up call. And hold on, once we get Teonny in, how do you feel about Mr. Sam? Teon.
I mean, unlike the two of you, I'm not going to attack him for his appearance, but I do agree that there is some racism in the gay community. there's just a lot of discrimination in the gay community in general. No fats, no femmes. I only date Asians. If you're not 6 foot tall, we can't be together. Like that's basically what he's talking about, and he's saying that he didn't realize how much it existed until after he came out, until after he started seeing what was going on in the gay community. Now, all of this stuff that y'all are talking about, y'all are completely jumping off subject to me. He's talking about the discrimination and the racism in the gay community. And even with the black gays, there are some black gays, I only date light skin. You have to be this height. You have to be this way. If you do this and you don't do that, then we can't be together. I totally agree with what he's saying. I totally see what he's talking about.
I mean, but what does that say about straight people? I mean, are they just screwing any and everything? You know, many of them have high standards as well.
Some of them are out here screwing any and anything they want to. I mean,
as our gays, I really felt like he just had a stereotype in his mind, and he was just surprised when he got some money and that everyone just suddenly didn't want him. You were unattractive before, and you still are now. And the fact that you had a contract kept things the same, even though that was personal. I admit, possibly a little mean-spirited.
Still unattractive, actually.
But I'm just saying, he just really felt like he was just going to be accepted with open arms. I mean, gays have standards as well. Straight people.
The problem with Michael Sam is that Michael Sam got a big old dose of reality.
I think that's it's true. I mean, with straight women, that many want someone that makes a certain amount of money. Again, the same thing with the height goes, appearance, career.
I mean, there's just discrimination.
All of the above. It's not going to change. We're a minority. We experience discrimination. What made him think that anything was going to be any different?
Well, as far as the straight people go, I mean, there's no straight people, but as a gay community in general, and us being discriminated against already, we should come together, but we're still so divided. And that's basically what Michael is saying, and I totally understand that. I totally get it.
But even though he's saying that we're divided as people of color, black, or whatever you want to call us, how can someone who doesn't divulge themselves into his own culture have the nerve to come out publicly in the press and say there's discrimination, your own kind? You don't do nothing with your own kind. You're too busy schmoozing at a party with a white guy. But you've got the nerve to come out to gay newspapers talking about, I've experienced discrimination because, of race and whatnot. You are the problem if you don't date your own race. If you don't love your own race enough to do that.
Decided to date outside of the black gay community because the black gay community isn't, as you guys just said, aren't the ones that are finding him attractive.
But, there's nothing wrong with dating outside of your race. There's nothing wrong with dating someone who's a different color than you. But if you're dating someone who's a different color than you, shut your mouth. You don't have the right to come out to a gay newspaper saying there's racism in the gay community when you're not dating your own race. You have no idea what people of color are experiencing in their romantic lives and their personal lives when you're dating someone who is not black or who is not of color. If you're dating a white man, you have no room to talk about race discrimination in the gay community, period.
Okay. I can totally, I can accept that statement.
Now, I would like this doesn't make sense. If you're not going to date a black guy, then what you talk about doesn't make sense.
I have before, but I was 16 then, so excuse me.
Okay, I really don't think that counts. 16. Well, listen, I would like to move on to someone who is actually trying to do something in their community. I mean, while Michael Sam is complaining about racial discrimination, being disadvantaged as a minority, Diddy is opening a charter school in Harlem. I'm a big proponent of school choice. I went to a couple charter schools, magnet schools, and performing arts schools growing up. So I'm pretty sure that those will be better than their surrounding public schools. What he could have done is just to take the regular celebrity route and donated some money to, say, the Detroit public schools like Kenya Moore did. But he decided to open his own because I'm sure that he realized that looking at the success rate of these schools over the years, they've gotten, millions of dollars. Nothing has changed. And I'm just glad to see that he's actually trying to be a change maker and decided to do something about it on his own. I know that where you are, Teonny, I think there's a number of charter schools there. And I believe that the proficiency rate, I think, in Louisiana has changed quite a bit since post-Katrina.
It has, and there are.
Since they've axed the public school system.
I used to teach at the charter school, actually. It was my first job.
How did that go? Because I thought about it. I was actually approached at 21 about starting one. I felt like it was kind of as far as starting one, actually opening a school, that was kind of a bit much at the time. It's still in the back of my head. I might consider it one day.
Well, I tell people all the time, like, especially some of my family members and a lot of my classmates who found out that I was teaching, incidentally, I was literally at the right place at the right time. And the reason that I didn't stick with it is because I don't have a degree in education. My degree is in technology. But because my grades were so good in all of these other subjects, I was able to get the teaching position. It was temporary anyway at the time.
It sounds like it was a nice experience.
It was a nice experience. The only thing I could say that I didn't like about it is the fact that most of the students were the same age as me at the time. And it was, you can't tell someone who, they weren't actually the same age as me, but you can't tell a 15 and 16-year-old, what to do, you need to stop doing this and you need to stop doing that. And they're looking at you and they're like, you're only like a couple of years older than me, so who gives you the authority
I
to tell me what to
disagree.
do?
A lot of teachers are pretty young. Like, I've had a few that were 25. So there might have been like a 10-year difference or maybe less.
True, but I was literally thrown into it at that time, and I had no experience in teaching whatsoever, so I didn't know what to do.
And then also, go ahead.
So, as far as Diddy goes, I think it's good. I think that it's good that he decided to open a charter school.
Because my big issue that I've had with public schools, and I went to a couple, actually. I moved a bit growing up. And one of the charter schools, by the way, was pretty bad. Like the first one, they had 4 principals in 4 years. And I think they eventually lost their charter because they lost their charter because, I think anyway, because it just wasn't going well. Obviously, by all the principals that they had. They even changed the school name. They changed the uniform. And there was a big cover story in the local city paper here on how bad the school was. But it was a nice concept. I was on the news discussing this in high school too, with the organizations that started it. Anyway, and the second one closed for money laundering. The news came there. And it was last minute. I couldn't get anywhere else, and then I finished up at a public school. Huge difference. And all I can ever remember is just all of the money that they need. The same thing in D.C. They need all these millions of dollars. They have buildings that are falling apart. The buildings are half open. They're like, we have to pay to keep the lights on. We don't know how, students are coming in here. The building's half empty. What do we do? These plans, these school plans and all for what to do with the district that go on for years. And mind you, this charter school, they just pop those up and, in a year or 2 years, they have state-of-the-art buildings, and they almost always outshadow their public school counterparts. So I'm just very proud of him to see him doing that. And Diddy's worth $700 million. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to a school started by him to try and emulate that same success?
I was just about to say, Diddy is probably one of the most influential people of our generation, despite the fact that his music sucks for the most part. But as far as business-wise goes, I find him to be somebody who a lot of these young business people should look at. I've always stated that. I mean, you may not like him, you may not like his music, but as far as his business goes, you have to sit back and take notes.
Yes, and I discussed this on another show on Breitbart's podcast with Sonny Johnson, where she said, you may think that he's terrible and that he's someone to ignore, but I invite you to, in her words, to play Big Bank Take Little Bank with him. And if you can match him coin by coin, then you've won the argument. Other than that, shut the hell up.
I agree.
Mohammed, I don't know if you know that much about our educational system here, other than the fact that nationally you hear, or globally you hear that it sucks. What do you think about Diddy's new school? Did he trail off? Mohammed?
I don't know.
I think the charter school is a good thing because public school sucks.
I mean, we have a horrible record of public schools in America, or correction, in the world. I think that we...
But let me say that in England, there's this American stereotype about people who come from the American school system. We have this stereotypical joke that Americans are generally stupid. But in England, we go to school year-round. We're in school constantly. The only times we have breaks are the general breaks. In America, you come to America, you're out of school every other 2 weeks. And God forbid you have 2 flakes of snow on the ground, you're actually home. What chance do American kids have to survive and learn if they're constantly being sent home for no reason?
I mean, I wasn't off every 2 weeks, but it is a bad system. But, in our defense of this global stereotype, the UK's economy has largely been tanking. So I want to say that we're at least not that bad. Ours did go first. So I guess touche. You all have been are trailing behind. So I'll give a little credit there. But I'm personally against the public school system. I think that we should abolish it. I think that we should have school choice. I think the parents should get the money to send their child where they want to. It's your child. It's your responsibility to take care of it, not the government. So therefore, I don't think that our money should be going to these schools. It should go to the parents. I don't support them at all. And, yes, the stereotype of Americans being dummies. I have worked with people from other parts of the world for years, and believe me, they have reminded me of said stereotype for almost the last decade or so of me working. And I try pretty hard to not fall into said stereotype. All right, so moving along, Chris Brown is back to his simpleton ways. I'm going to try and be nice here because we talked about this before the show started, honestly, about me being me.
You don't even know, honestly, in this situation, as a Chris Brown fan, 10 years, unlike the Beehive, I can admit when things are wrong. I can admit
they're always wrong with him.
Something wrong. Not always, but I'm going to let you talk. You go ahead. Don't hold back.
Okay, let me finish. So he went on a Twitter rant bashing his ex Kalani, who had just said she was suicidal. She just announced she was considering killing herself. Okay, so to say anything negative of someone after that is just mean-spirited and evil. He said the only reason why she said she was committing suicide is so that the comments under her Instagram pictures wouldn't look so dry. That's just plain terrible. And as expected, he was unfollowed by a number of people in the industry, from Zendaya, Tinashe, and 2 members from Fifth Harmony. So of course, how did he respond? Exactly as we would expect him to, by trashing both of them as well. He said he didn't give an FUCK what they thought. Chris Brown is like the Donald Trump of music. You want to talk about someone hating on women? Unlike Mr. Trump, he actually has the 5th record to back up the hateful comments that's been lodged against him. Tim, what as a member of the Chris Brown fan club,
as a member of Team Breezy, like I said, whether Kalani, I barely know who Kalani is. Like, I really didn't know too much about her until, this thing came out last week about her trying to commit suicide. And while she may have done this for attention, you never know, but Chris Brown being Chris Brown, as I was just telling my boyfriend earlier today when we were talking about it, that as Chris Brown being Chris Brown and the way that the media has been towards him for the past 6 years or so, he should know better. He should know that.
I mean, it's self-inflicted. They've been that way because of things that he's done. No one has ever gone after him for any reason. And like I said about him being the Donald Trump of music, Donald counterpunches. Everything that has happened to him has been started because of him.
There have been some situations where things were started because of him, but they weren't true. But as far as this goes, he put his own foot in his mouth. This is his fault. He shouldn't have said it. And what's interesting is that he has 2 recent songs with – he has a recent song with Tinashe that he worked on. He has a recent song with Zendaya that he worked on. So for him to sit here and diss them because they disagree with his actions is just childish. This is where Chris, to me, he always seems to take like 4 steps forward, and he takes 40 steps backwards. And he took 40 steps backwards when he did that.
He absolutely did. Mohammed, what is your take on Chris Brown? Period. Mohammed? Is the child dead? Did he go to Rwanda for my coffee? Rwanda for the beans. I have an issue with Chris Brown. I mean, I feel like he refuses to act right. He just won't. The last time we did the show together, weren't we just talking about like the whole list of people that he was going after? That he went after. What was that singer's name that he collaborated with? Like he had just gone after him. He called it. He said he was in the closet. He called the man gay, and everyone knows it.
Oh God, what is his name?
I really get sick of Kevin McCall. I really get sick of covering him. I mean, he said that he extended a career invitation to him to help him, and this is the thanks that he gave him back. But pretty soon he's going to need that invitation. I mean, he's been very cocky and very arrogant. The fact remains that Chris Brown's career has been in decline for years. He is not on top. He is not going to get back on top because he's just like what was said about Meek Mill. You're being Twitter thumbs. That's the only thing that he can make news for these days.
See, this is where I disagree because you can't say that Chris has not been back on top and that his career has been going down because he had two number one albums. His last two albums that came out both reached number one. And though he doesn't have any major hits no longer count these days, basically.
Oh, hits count.
The way that the industry is set up these days, hits no longer really count. I mean, look at J. Cole and look at Kendrick Lamar. They release singles. The singles don't really chart well. They don't even really chart at all, but they're critical and commercial successes. Like, they're going to go platinum. So they don't really count anymore. It's actually it's more all about the artist now. And despite the fact that Chris did what he did and Chris is having his issues, he does have a devoted fan base, and he's just not he's not doing as well as he did when he first started, but he's still doing pretty good.
I mean, they need to reel him. They need to reel him in a bit.
They do need to reel him in. I do agree.
He's out of control. Whether or not he had those two hit albums, most of the public do not know that because the only thing that he ever makes news for is breaking out his mother's windshield, kidnapping his ex, jumping in the girl's car without her consent while she's driving. He is a creep. He's taking pictures on Instagram and forgot to wipe the cocaine out of his nose. All of this. These are all the things that he makes news for, and not his music. I mean, wasn't he just pitched not too long ago to join, was it Love and Hip Hop, I think, with Karrueche? I think they wanted Karrueche. Which, of course, in turn, would have had him on as well. And he didn't want her to be on reality TV. But he's really inching to head over into that territory. I mean, because if he keeps all this up in rehab and all, this was a couple of years ago, he's not going to have that much of a career. He is a self-defeating person.
But at the same time, you have to
see if he's alive.
You have to kind of respect him for being able to voice his opinions and not care. I mean,
no. Because it's an ignorant opinion. It is an ignorant opinion. If he was giving an actual intelligent response, if he knew what to say, what the fuck do you pay a publicist for? What? I mean, it's true. They tried. I mean, they gave up on him years ago. They deleted his Twitter. First, they would delete his tweets. Then he would keep it up. Then they just deleted the whole damn account. They were tweeting for him, and then he would get started. You know, now if you follow him, because I have his Twitter, I have push alerts set for him. He'll get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and start bashing people. He says, "Oh, my label doesn't give a shit about me," and they'll go and delete it. So remember, I caught that one. I did a screenshot and wrote that article. I looked at my phone and I said, "Oh, really? That's what we're doing now." You know, it's the same thing with me. Like, you should be known for your talent and what you're doing, instead of all of these fights, etc. I mean, pretty soon he's not going to be anything but on some male version of R&B divas.
I would love to see
not known for anything. Not known for anything but his Twitter rants. Other people have gotten on reality TV doing the same thing. I won't call any names.
I want you to call names. I want to know who you're talking about.
Surprised you can't guess.
I can't guess. Who are you talking about?
I don't feel like being a self-defeating person today. Maybe later.
Oh my gosh,
Mohammed, do I need to send help over there? I think I'm actually concerned. Anyway, I know. So much for a British invasion. I'm gonna get him. Now this is a topic I'm exceptionally proud to cover. Hold on, Mohammed. You realize that we just heard a siren, right? See, I shouldn't even be joking. I was joking about is he okay, and now I hear a siren, and he's quiet.
Did you really hear a siren?
I did. I thought I heard like a little police something. That's awful. All right. Now, this is a topic I'm exceptionally proud to cover. There's a new reality show called Quit Your Daily Job, highlighting the successful entrepreneurs and how they got where they are, including sister of Zuckerberg, influencers. Quit your job, something that has been told to me for free. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I still have to get up every so often. But what I like about this is a nice counter to shows like Love and Hip Hop, which I just cannot bring myself to looking at. I know that you're a fan of that, Teon. I look at it like every, 2 episodes every year.
Well, it's not that I'm
really
a fan of Love and Hip Hop. I watched like the first episode, the premiere episode, because it helps boost up my Twitter account. I mean my tweet count, and I get a lot of likes on Facebook, and I love the attention.
I cannot watch something specifically for that reason. I can't.
After like 3 episodes, I stopped, and then I returned during the reunion. But anyway, as you were saying.
The fact that that's what you're, the reason why you watch it, that's a shame. I totally cannot. Well, hey, if you're bringing numbers to our site, I do appreciate it.
Yes.
So I had to clean that one up real quick. So if that's what you want to do, go knock yourself out.
Thank you.
I mean, I kind of like the concept of it. I love everything about the industry. I like seeing what goes on behind the scenes. And many people say that they're nobodies who are on Love and Hip Hop. I beg to differ. I can't really name too many of the people. What's her face that is married to Mendices, who went to jail?
Yandy.
Was she a publicist? Manager? I think she was a talent manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, so seeing the job of a talent manager and other people in the industry, like, I'm terrible. I can't think of any of their names. In Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, what was the stripper's name? Stevie's Jocelyn. That's true. Oh my God. But hey, that's Atlanta. That's Atlanta for you.
Sweetie, you have to be more specific.
Yes, and hey, Muhammad's down there in Atlanta. He might have disappeared inside of a strip club right now. I want to ask him if that's what happened. That's why I annoyed him in the background earlier. But
I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, I like watching people's careers, and just that's always been interesting to me. So that's kind of what I like about Love and Hip Hop. Seeing Jocelyn go from stripper to attempting to be a recording artist. I have to see if she sold or how much money she might have made. Or Stevie J, who's done a lot of producing in the 90s. Just seeing where he is in life right now and continuing to attempt to have a career. Notice I said attempt, because it's always it's easy when you have a major label and all behind you, but once all that's over, hovering somewhere around early 30s, you've got to fight for yourself, and that's when their career gets really interesting. Some people have the fight in them, some don't. I mean, look at the member of In Vogue that was on R&B Divas, where, I mean, you were in a huge, majorly successful group, and now all of a sudden you have a car that you have to carry around a gallon jug to pour water in when it gets hot. That is just a shame that you couldn't find anything else to do with your career, and this is where you end up.
Oh wow! I don't watch R&B Divas. I actually forgot that the show existed. And every time someone mentions it, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to tune in tonight. And then it never happens. Sorry. But it sounds like a very interesting show. One of my favorite parts was, Lil Mo was one of my favorite singers. And oh, God, yes, we know. She, I think it was the start of something that stood out to me, because I grew up in a house with an English teacher. So English is always kind of a little bit important to me. It was like the start of the second season of R&B Divas LA, and
she was in some orchard or something like that, and they were getting fruit, not really picking fruit, something like that, her and a friend, and she couldn't pronounce the word fruit, and I just thought it was the most hilarious thing ever. Well, I was disgusted first, but I was like, what? Like, I don't understand. She said, I'm from the city. We don't do this. I'm trying to get fruit. How are you supposed to say it? Fruit. So it was like two Fruirt. And I was actually upset at first. I was like, I don't understand. This lady is almost 40 years old. How can you not pronounce a one-syllable damn word? And I actually did not watch, for a couple episodes, and I tuned back in. I kind of have a hard time with doing that to my brain with people who tend to have a little bit of trouble speaking. But hey, she's fun. I came back in to eventually watch it. But shows like Quit Your Job, I like it just because we get to have something other than the drink throwing, twerking, etc., that we're normally accustomed to on reality TV. There's even a second one that was highlighting successful not the startups, but successful black female attorneys as well. Because if you look at the Real Housewives series, there's not too many people who actually have a decent career. I love Kenya Moore. I think that she's amazing. But most of us kind of scratch our head and say, what does she do?
Exactly.
Yeah. There's Phaedra, who's an attorney. She probably belongs on here. But yeah, she actually has a career in law, and to see these women here who actually have a reason to be on television, who could possibly be an example to someone else, I think that'll be good. But do you think it's possible to have a hit that's not necessarily centered around fighting or their what do they call them, the good Judys? Oh no, the gay best friends.
Look at Lala.
I suck at gay lingo.
Look at Lala Vasquez. She had a show where it was literally just her being positive and showing her love for Carmelo and her relationship with her two best gay friends. And there was really no drama. Everything was classy. And it got canceled because no matter how much people say, oh, we need something classy on TV, but when we get something classy on TV, we don't watch it.
I was just going to say, I never followed up with that show. I was just going to ask, was the show canceled? Because
yeah, it was canceled.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Nobody watched it.
She has a flat personality. She's good for hosting, but she cannot do reality. She does not have.
I'm not going to.
I can see it. She has a wall up. She was not being a human being on that show. The only time I've ever seen her be herself was when that shoe flew across the stage and almost knocked her upside her head during what was that? Not I Love New York, but what was the one before that? With yes, that was the only time because she almost got hood for a minute. The smile, that plaster smile changed, and she was getting ready to take her hair down and whoop somebody's ass. That's the only time. And if there was more of that, not the shoe throwing, but if it was more of her actually being a normal person, because she has the 7 a.m. morning show personality. No normal human being smiles that damn much, other than Joel Osteen. And again, I don't think that he's human either.
Love him.
Whatever. I thought she was. I really thought she was terrible for reality TV. I felt like every single thing that she did was staged. Oh, I'm going to buy my friend. I'm going to go furnish her apartment. She had the big wedding. There was never really any real moments in there. But she's very good on camera. But she doesn't know. She just doesn't know how to be real. It was a nice concept, though.
It was a nice concept.
If it wasn't for Carmelo Anthony, they would have never given
they
her
want
a
to
show.
see it. People say they want to see it, but people don't want to see it, and it's sad. Yet you complain about loving hip hop and all of these other stuff. But anyway, whatever.
I think there's a little bit of a chance. I mean, we know how successful women are, and there's a number of them on the show. And by judging by Celebrity Apprentice, or Regular Apprentice, and the way that they fight on there, I think that there's a little bit of a chance of this being interesting. Just make sure that you have plenty of drink dates, just to kind of encourage a little glass throwing. Just a little. Just make sure there's a nice setting. A nice setting. Have some glasses around.
Just enough. Yes.
All right, guys. I don't know what happened to my British invasion counterpart. I made my jokes about Sirens and him being okay. I want to check on him afterwards. I feel kind of bad. This show is brought to you by our parent company, VM3 Media, your destination for all of your communication and media consulting needs. I would like to thank our guest, our editor-in-chief, Teonny Spears, and the head of Bazaar Daily News in the UK, Mohammed SHK, for coming on. And before we go, Teon, anything new going on with you? I believe before the show started, you had something to say about, were you trying to compare me to Wendy Williams?
I was trying to compare you to Wendy Williams because you're mean.
I'm not. I think that our listeners today would say that I was not mean. I am not a mean person.
Today. I'm actually proud of you. Thank you.
Yeah, but can you try and explain this where this comment about me and Wendy Williams, this comparison come from?
Because
I'm really curious.
Because Wendy's just rude for the hell of it, and you're rude for the hell of it sometimes. Like, you do it because you purposely try. You told me that you purposely try to get a rise out of people because you know it would spark conversation.
No, okay. I don't think that I've ever said I've tried to get a rise. Mm-hmm. And mind you, warming up. I've never really been a fan of being on air, so I guess I could be a little sharper. But no, look, we started writing together 5-6 years ago. In the past,
I think it was more than that.
It wasn't that long. It was 2010. For Def Glam.
Oh,
but I know
in 2009.
Yeah, you came across my work before, so you probably. I know that I've been worse. I have been worse. We're gonna go beyond that thing. But when I first joined Def Glam, I told you, I said, I'm bored, and I said that you all need to liven things up a little bit, and so that was kind of my thing. I was trying to just shake things up. I said, you all are too safe. And yet every time I write something, you and our other editor-in-chief, it was like, Vonnie would say this, and there was always some type of an effort to do something about what comes out of Vonnie's mouth. However, I did know how to bring traffic. That's one thing I've always been good at.
I will agree to that. You did know how to bring the traffic. I'm definitely going to let Tiger Lily know that you were talking about her today.
We have discussed this. She goes by the name of Shade Queen, and I'm sure that you had a nickname of something, Shade something, in there. But I'm the evil person.
Because there's a fine line between shade and there's a fine line between being shady and just being mean. And you walk that line very, very, very closely.
And I believe and as far as getting a rise out of people, I believe if you're going to say something, you should be able to defend it. And so, remember your Beyonce story about where you just felt like I was not going to let you go on this. You were just going to write an article and say that that you were glad that Beyonce did Formation and that people were upset, and you were talking about white people taking the land and enslaving folks, and but it's never the right time to say anything. And I said, oh, really? I could not wait to jump on that topic. And you were like, oh, my God, you've got all these people, all these blue-collar people in my mention yelling at me. Number one, I was like, okay, that was mean, talking about blue-collar people. How do you know they're blue-collar? And two, you say something, defend it. Don't be ashamed of what was said, and don't get upset that people don't like it either.
Okay, I guess you're right.
Oh, really? And would you like, before I go, do you have any examples of me intentionally being mean? Or examples of me being like Wendy Williams? Because I don't buy it.
I do have a few.
What have I written that
being like Wendy Williams?
Yes. When have I been mean-spirited in anything that I've written?
Okay, like last week
take your
when you
time.
talk about Trina, let me find it. I had it earlier. I did. I had it earlier.
Look at you.
Something you said about Trina.
Just
Wait a
ready.
minute. Let me find it.
I feel like Miranda Priestley. Why is nobody ready?
Yes, Miranda. Here it is. So you said in her latest single, Overnight, deservedly underrated rap artist Trina talks about her hate as a roller coaster of a career. Side note, the only person hating on Trina is Kaya, and we all know how much that matters. None. Why is it that doesn't matter?
Well, thank you for mentioning, her name on air. I guess I won't be contacting Kaya anytime soon. Again. First of all, I love Kaya, but come on, I feel like she's the only person who talks about her. I mean,
why?
Because of
you love Kaya.
I mean, this epic hit that she had, My Neck, My Back, that goes down in history.
That was over 10 years ago.
My neck, my back, relax my new growth and my track.
Oh, my God.
That is, oh, my God, how dare you talk about the greatness that is Kaya Shimon. Do you have any other? First of all, deservedly underrated. She was recently in a fight in Miami where she felt like jumping on one of her fighting or whatever, jumping on someone in her entourage. First of all, if this were Mariah Carey, they could have been fighting and talking all the trash that they wanted, and she would have continued walking and getting her pictures and wind in her hair as if nothing was going on. Okay, that's what the star does. The ratchet has-beens, they're the ones who get into fights in the street with their entourage, and that is what Trina is.
Well, let's just agree to disagree.
And that was the gospel truth. Do you have any more examples? Yes, the gospel truth on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Do you have any other examples for?
No,
I know you do.
Examples. I do. I just don't want to go over them right now.
Okay. All right. Well, I wanted to thank you for being on.
What was going?
Yes. What's going on?
I won a Best Blogger award a couple of weeks ago. Like, they actually finalized the vote, and though it was projected that I was an early winner, I was confirmed last Thursday as an official winner for that award.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. I feel all important. Put the PopGlitz on the map.
Yes, thank you.
That great juice, too.
What about them?
Exactly.
Oh, was that shade?
It was shade.
Well, I guess I will mark them off of my list of people to contact. Please. Do you have anyone else you'd like to insult before we go?
I think that's it.
And listen, so I have For the last 3 weeks, I must really want to have these two on, like I just told them privately. Next week, and this is actually confirmed, I apparently can't read a calendar right because my whole life is in my calendar. I don't know what happened. But for the last 3 weeks, I announced that we were going to have two friends of the show, Brian Giddings in New York and one of our eye candy models, Anthony Johns, who just got a new modeling contract probably about a month after we covered him. I kept announcing on air they would be on the following week. Finally, it is actually confirmed that they will be on the 10th. So I'm happy to say that I actually got it right this time. That should be fun. I look forward to next week. Anyway, it has been fun, and until next time, tune in to PopGlitz.com for the latest in current events.